Well, my next guest knows a thing or two about political reputations and how to save them. Allan Bonner is a crisis and political consultant for Allan Bonner Communications Management. He joins us from Toronto. Thanks for being with us here on France 24. If Rob Ford does go ahead and win another term, what does that tell us about voters in Toronto?
Well, it tells us that voters in most jurisdictions are of two minds. They may not like some of his behavior, but they like what he says about fiscal responsibility. They're not sure whether he's entirely delivered on belt tightening and responsible spending, but they go into the polling booth, they hold their nose, and they mark an X. I mean, much like Americans voted for George Bush II, or much like Bill Clinton's reputation actually went up when he was revealed to have had an extramarital affair. So people are of multiple minds about these issues.
Yes, and we've talked a lot about extramarital or affairs, love affairs here in France, so from our political leaders as well. Do you think Canadian voters are closer to French voters than they are to American voters in that they care more about what a politician does rather than what goes on in his personal life and perhaps any personal failings like the drug use that he's admitted to and the alcohol addiction that he's talked about as well?
Well, I think French voters and French society are quite unique. Canada, don't forget how broad it is, 4,000 miles or so from sea to sea. So the 10 million Quebecers and Francophones would be pretty close to those voters. The people in the Bible Belt would probably not be. But I would say there at least isn't the mythology in Canada that every one of our politicians is squeaky clean like there is in America. Everybody knows it's a mythology. Everybody knows that they have their little secrets, but it is not so much admitted. Except since the Bill Clinton days. Remember, before Bill Clinton, Gary Hart's presidential career was ruined by the rumor of an extramarital affair, and I bet he's wishing that he'd waited an extra couple of years to have one.
And when it comes to Rob Ford, I mean, would you say he's handled all the allegations and the scandals that have hit him well?
Well, it has been absolutely unconventional, made up almost hour by hour, breaking all the rules of effective political communication and crisis communication. But this is a unique character. This is a one of a kind. And he has somehow weathered this storm. If this were if this same rumor was about with regard to President Obama, it would probably be an impeachment offense. Whereas with our mayor, who has limited powers, quite unlike an American mayor, somehow he's made of Teflon. Somehow the voters out in those suburban areas that your reporter looked at, whose first language isn't English, who are immigrants, who see a real, authentic, albeit odd character, they're somehow willing to give him a pass. It's a mystery.
And having said all of that, do you think he will win a second term?
I think it's very likely, but don't forget, we have this first past the post system in Canada where it depends on how many candidates run, how many are on the right, how many are on the left, and how the vote splits. So someone can actually win the mayor's chair, but be disliked by the vast majority of voters. So that, the old expression, a week or a month or 6 months is an eternity in politics. The election is an eternity away. And who lines up to run makes a huge difference.
Well, he's certainly changed a lot of people's opinion about local politics in Canada, that's for sure. Allan Bonner, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on France 24.
Pleasure.